Good morning, everyone. This is Captain Brian aboard the Southern Draw. I'm going to remove a vacuflush toilet and replace it with a macerator type toilet from Thetford. Toilet, I picked it up at West Marine for $200. It's like a $1,500 toilet, and our local West Marine was going out of business. So I got this toilet for probably way less than that cost them. It's an Italian made toilet. The other ones were working, but they really didn't, they really had some issues, and I wanted to get rid of them, and I bought the toilet on a whim and said if it didn't work, I could sell it and get some money back from it. So that's the weather canceled my fishing trip this weekend, so I decided to go ahead and put this toilet in and get it out of my carport. So real quick, I'm going to go over the vacuflush toilet. This is not the one I'm replacing. I've already taken it out, but I wanted to give you a brief overview of how the vacuflushes work and why I got rid of the vacuflush in the other bedroom. So the vacuflush has a pedal down here that you press to flush it, and it opens this ball in the valve in the bottom of the bowl. You have a vacuum generator, which is this tank right here, and a pump, which is a very expensive, that's $1,000 pump. I just replaced the motor on that one. Just the motor, I think, is about $300, the motor and gearbox. But anyway, these tanks have a switch on the end that cut it off when it gets under a vacuum, and of course that one's not working, and that's about a $175 switch. The tank is right here behind me in the master stateroom, so everything flows to this holding tank, and I've got a macerator pump that will pump that out. The way Hatteras originally designed this boat is everything pumped to the engine room way down there and circulated back to this tank. And I think the reason they did that is because the pumps also would pump overboard, so you could pump directly overboard out of the engine room. There's a through hole there. Well, that's a long way to pump stuff, and I've got a macerator pump that'll pump this out here that the previous owner added, so there's no need for me to do that. And there was also always a smell in the engine room because we had sewer lines running. And so I've already taken the other tank out of the back, but I'm going to show you why I want to get rid of this. The tank was located under this bunk, right where you put your head. There's the straps where it went. And there was always an odor in this room from that tank being there. Tank location. I'm going to take those brackets out and clean this up. We have a water supply. So our water supply was right here, this copper tubing. Those wires were to the pressure switch, and that went to the toilet that was behind the bulkhead over here. That rag is in the discharge. That's from the toilet that went from the vacuum generator. It went to the engine room, to the pump in the engine room. This will be cleaned up. I'm about to clean this out and repaint it. The only thing I should have in here, I'll have a hose running through here back with these others that goes to the tank. That'll be the discharge from the new toilet. This will get capped off, and I'll have the solenoid valve. I plan on putting it with a water valve to turn the water on and off right here in this hatch, and I could use that for tool storage or storage of things I don't need to get to very often because it is under a bunk. So I removed the old toilet. It's set right here, and again, I have a mess. I already started the project, but I plan on running the hose through there back to the tank. It'll fit nicely in that chase. But I've got this new toilet here, and I wanted to make sure it fit before I totally gutted everything, and I did that yesterday and found out it does fit nicely. I'm putting new floors in here this winter, but as you see, these Tecmas fit right up against the wall. This thing has a soft close lid, slam like the other ones, slowly goes down. Very nice toilet. Like I said, this is a $1,500 toilet. I got it for $200, and that included tax at West Marine, going out of business here in Spring Hill, Florida. So this Tecma toilet has a macerator pump in the back here. This pump is activated by a control panel, and it actually macerates the waste. And we have this discharge hose here that pumps the waste to the tank. This is the electrical that triggers the pump, controls the pump, and powers the pump. Open in the back, and you'll notice the bottom's open too, so you can fish wires and stuff up. Could actually probably go through the right there and go through the bottom of the toilet, but I'm going to probably go through the wall, hopefully in that hole, but if not, I'll drill a new hole to hide it. But this toilet is should be nice. It's operated by a control panel. If you'll notice, the old control panel, Hatteras put it under the sinks, pretty standard in their boats, and you pull that toilet out, and then you're supposed to leave that switch on, and the vacuum switch would cut it off when it builds up a vacuum. I usually just turned it on when I needed it, because those switches go bad. It was hard to maintain a vacuum on those vacuum pump vacuflush systems. But what I'm going to plan on doing, instead of putting it there, because that has a shower sump panel too, and it's just kind of, you know, it's in fiberglass. It's got its own whole size, and plus you have to reach around and get to it to turn it on. The Tecma panel is electronic. The controller's on the back of the panel now, and I'm probably going to mount it in this little chase. Hatteras built this chase right here for the switches here and toilet paper holder, and I'm probably going to mount it right in here on the wall, and that way when you're sitting on the toilet you can reach in and since this chase is already here, I'm hoping to be able to fish a wire down through the floor here and back over here, drill a hole and come up under the toilet. I'm here in the engine room and trying to figure out the best way to get 24 volts to the toilet. As you can see, this is the hoses for the toilet, and the pump's over there. It used to pump out of this through hole right here, and the prior owner had added an air conditioner to it and did away and put the macerator pump in, and I went ahead and made a sea chest out of it, and also put as you can see, I put a valve there for a bait well pump, which is over there. He had it back in the cockpit, and I find they don't last long out there. This one's doing pretty well in here so far. Had to pardon the paint and stuff. They got a lot of paint on things when they painted this boat through the years, but the pump's under there. I'll do away with that pump and have a nice storage area over there, should have, and all these hoses will come out, and I can clean that up and paint it. But this panel in here, and Hatteras did some really nice wiring in the day, which this one's been altered a little bit through the years, but there's one lug right there for that one on the far right of the big ones is a 50 amp lug that's got 24 volts on it. Everything else in here is reading 12 volts. So I think my option is to either tap onto that starter, which means I would have to have the engine switch on to use the toilet. I also have the ship service here, stays on all the time, but I like keeping the engines off, so I'm thinking about, I could also go to the feed side of that Perco switch and tap into that and put a breaker. I'm going to put a breaker somewhere in this panel. I don't know where yet, but I'll tap on somewhere there to get 24 volt. If I was doing this like I ordered this toilet, I would have ordered a 12 volt, but the only ones they had on this fire sale were 24 volts. Good morning. I got the wire run. I spent all day yesterday getting parts and running this wire. It was one bulkhead down the other. I finally came through this hole here. It's already there. I'm going to fill that in a little better. But how that hole got there, I don't know. But it's behind a wardrobe in the guest stateroom, and it wound up being a perfect route for this. So I decided I'm going to tie in for now to this starter 50 amp breaker. Main reason I'm doing that, I doubt anybody flushes the toilet at the same time you start the engine, but you never know. But is I can turn it off there, even though I have to leave that Perco switch there on to use the toilet, which I really don't want to do, but I really want to be able to have a way to cut the toilet off if something was to happen and it didn't trip the breaker, or if I just needed to service the toilet. I've got a little breaker here. I got it at West Marine. Again, they're going out of business there here in Spring Hill, and so I bought, this is about all they had left, but it's a 30 amp breaker. I got it probably for like $3 or $4, but it doesn't have it's not like a breaker I can turn on and off. It just pops out when it's in overload condition. So I'm going to mount it right up here probably and label it, but I don't have a way to really turn the toilet off to service it if I go straight to the supply side of the Perco. So I'm going to go into that. Again, this is complicated a little bit because I got this 24 volt toilet and my house service for the boat is 12 volts. So. Okay, for the wire, I'm using an 8 gauge wire. You always want to use tinned copper on a boat. So this is copper wire that has a tin coating on it. It's 8 gauge, and I'm going to use this heat shrink fittings here. I got these from West Marine on the closeout too. I've got this one already stripped and put up in there, but when you're using heat shrink, you want to use some good, and these aren't the greatest, but they're made for heat shrink. You don't want to use those cheap crimpers that just bite on it in one place. If you'll notice, these are wide, and they don't damage the casing of the material. So I did want to say also that the wire size, look at a chart from a reputable place, and the voltage plays into that. This is 24 volts, so usually a higher voltage requires a smaller wire than a 12 volt, but I'm not a big fan yet of the AI, Chat GPT, and all those things. I looked at some charts, and 8 gauge seems to work for the length of the run that I've got. But I asked the Chat GPT just for fun, and it gave me this thing that says 10 gauge the first time, and I don't think 10 gauge is big enough. I couldn't find a chart to support that. And then I asked it another way, or another AI thing, I don't remember, and it was telling me to go to a 6 gauge, and one of them said like a 1/0, because they said you should count the run, the length of the run is there and back. So in other words, if I had a 20-foot run, it said I should figure it on 60 feet or 40 feet. And I've never seen a charter table like that. It's usually the one-way run. So I'm very skeptical of the AI stuff. I'm sure one day they'll get it straight, but I would use caution dealing with that. So I got my electrical tied in. I got a 30 amp breaker there, and I'm going to label that, and I'll go in the box here and show y'all how I tied it in. Those are my wires there. It's not the neatest in the world. I'm humbled when I come in behind Hatteras. They just did things so right and good back then. All this other wires that are dangling, that's stuff people have added through the years, but all the original Hatteras stuff's well labeled. It's all terminated well. The original zip ties are 43 years old, and they're still on there. I'm sure they could use a changing out, but they really did these boats right back in the day. This is when AMF owned them, and this is just one electrical panel. All the electrical panels, most of them look better than this actually, especially the original ones that nobody's been into. So here we are 2 weeks later. I'm still working on this toilet. The main reason is I've been waiting on supplies. It's really tough around here to find 1.5" sanitation hose. All the marinas had to order it. All the West Marines were out of it, up and down the west coast of Florida. But I was able to get it from Defender, and the shipping was only $8.95 for 17 feet of that hose right there. But it took me several days to get it. They shipped it via the Postal Service. So I've run it through here, and where the old vacuum generator was there, it's a Trident Vac XHD. It had pretty good reviews on the hose. You want to make sure you don't use spa hose for this, because it'll cause odors. This is supposed to be not allow the sewer odors to get through the hose. So what I did here, I've got an elbow where it comes out of the back of the toilet. I wanted to do that so I can pull the toilet when I need to pull it. I don't have to mess with the hose, you know, trying to pull slack from somewhere else. I can just unconnect it right there. I've got my valve in with a solenoid. Got a compression stop turned backwards with the 3/8 side on the copper, and a 1/2" iron pipe threaded into that. I've got my wires here. That was a job fishing them through the bilge. That one goes to the sending unit for the tank. This one goes to the solenoid valve right here that activates the water. So that's what we got going on here. On the back of the toilet, I will show you that we have connection here. I don't know what's up there. Instructions aren't real clear, but they didn't send enough of those uninsulated spade terminals to connect to this. This goes to the macerator motor. So I just put these in there. They fit down there pretty good. This is the water supply line. I did find out this is I believe I wound up going with 5/8 or 3/4 hose. I can't remember, but reinforced hose. And this little hose I thought was a water supply. That little nipple there is an air release vent. It doesn't say anything about connecting a hose unless you're I think you're tying into a toilet that's a seawater pump. Then you want to make sure you have a loop above the water line, but this pumps into the black water tank directly. And right here we have the control panel. That was another thing I had to wait on. I got the panel, but the box had been opened and didn't have the trim piece here on it. And so I had to wait on that. They sent me another one to get the trim plates out instead of just sending me the plate. I don't know why companies do that kind of stuff, but they could have just sent me the plate and saved themselves some money. Got my toilet paper dispenser back. I pulled that out. It's recessed and it's hollow here. I still had a plug here. I cord in the wall in this chase, and of course this will glue back over that. I've got to get some glue, and I said before I'm replacing this floor, so I put the plug back. When I strip this old floor up, I'll fill all this with epoxy, thickened epoxy, and all that imperfections in and sand it down. But right now that'll do for that. So that's how I got the wires in here. I cut this hole up here, and control panel only went to probably right down here. So I wound up making the splice behind this toilet paper dispenser. I've got all the wires secured back here, but I left them loose down here where I couldn't reach them. I didn't want to make it when this panel goes out. I want to be able to get those wires out, because they've got quick connects on the end of them that I can just go back. I ran my sewer hose, is back here, came through there, going to the tank in the forward, and I'll take you up there. So up here it's still a work in progress. I've got my hose running in there through the air conditioning compartment. It'll be strapped down and secured and everything, and it comes out. I went down below deck there. It's an existing boat. You just got to work around things. It's not always ideal. And I came out through here. What I'll do is I'll get the right length here, and I'll cut it. The fitting that I've got to tie into is down here in that Y. You can't really see it, but the good news is I got a fern coat holding it in, so I can undo it, get up here and connect everything, and then stick it back in there. Be a little bit of a challenge, but I think I can do it. Worst case, I'll cut some more floor out and replace it, but I'm hoping I don't have to do that at this point. So another little trick, if you don't know about it, this sewer hose, a lot of this kind of bilge hose and stuff is really hard to get on these barbed fittings. So a trick, there's two things. I'm having to do both here. One is you put a little of this Dawn dish soap inside the hose. That helps it slide better. And also a little heat here with a heat gun. That's how I'm having to do these on these nylon fittings that came from West Marine and Home Depot and stuff. But amazingly, the fittings for this toilet, I guess they're metric or something. It's made in Italy, and they didn't require any heat, just a little soap, and it slid right on. If our folks here would make them like that, it would make my life easier. But anyway, out with the heat gun again. Okay, so when we tie into the tank here, you can see now that Y Fernco there, that flexible coupling, that bow toilet ties in on one side, and this contraption here ties in on the other. And the reason it's like this, there's a stringer that this has to go up and over right there, and I don't like it. It leaves a trap in here, but that's the way the boat was originally plumbed. So I had to go with it. I think it actually goes like this. Yeah, so it goes out and down, so I guess it does drain. But somehow I've got to get this little bitty hole. I've got to get this on there. We'll have to heat it, I'm sure, and then try to snake that down in there and tighten the clamp and all that good stuff. So here we go again. Well, boys, my motto is the boss makes $1, I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time. But I think I'm gonna call in sick tomorrow, or at least tell them I'm gonna be late so I can use this baby, because it is sweet. One push of the button does all of this and more. Yep, it flushed twice. It's going to Washington.